Meat didn't survive the Middle Ages by luck. It survived because medieval people understood smoke like a weapon. Long before refrigeration, preservatives, or stainless steel smokehouses, they built systems that could keep meat edible for months, sometimes years, using nothing but fire, patience, and ruthless practicality. These weren't rustic accidents. They were engineered solutions, and most modern butchers don't even know they existed. Welcome back to Ancient Roots Uncovered. Today we're ripping open 9 medieval smoking methods that quietly outperform modern shortcuts and asking the uncomfortable question: what did we forget along the way? Hearth smoke preservation. The medieval hearth was never just a fireplace. It was a living machine. Meat hung high above the fire, not close enough to cook, not far enough to escape the smoke. Day after day, low heat and constant smoke dried the surface, while phenols from the wood bonded to the meat. This wasn't hot smoking or cold smoking. It was something in between, slow and relentless. The genius here was exposure time. Some cuts hung for weeks, absorbing antimicrobial compounds that actively slowed bacterial growth. These days, modern butchers rush the process, but, medieval ones let time do the heavy lifting. Roof beam smoking. In medieval homes, the ceiling wasn't decorative. It was actually functional. Rafters and roof beams doubled as long-term smoking racks. Warm smoke naturally rose and pooled under thatch or wood, creating a low-oxygen, smoke-rich zone. Meat stored there avoided insects, mould, and moisture. Archaeological evidence shows soot layers several centimetres thick in medieval roofs, proof of constant smoke circulation. This wasn't accidental grime. It was preservation infrastructure hiding in plain sight. Green wood smoke control. Medieval smokers deliberately used green or partially seasoned wood. Modern smokers avoid it because it burns dirty. Medieval butchers wanted that. Green wood produces cooler smoke, higher moisture, and more preservative compounds. The result was slower dehydration and deeper smoke penetration without cooking the meat. Oak, beech, and fruitwoods weren't chosen for flavour alone. They produced specific smoke chemistry that inhibited spoilage. This was, chemistry without lab coats. Smoke and salt sequencing. These days, meat is often salted and smoked at the same time. But back in medieval times, methods separated the steps with intention. First came heavy salting to draw out moisture, then a bit of rest time. Only after surface drying did smoking begin. This sequence, it created a hostile environment for bacteria before smoke ever touched the meat. Studies on traditional curing show that staged preservation dramatically increases shelf life compared to combined methods. Medieval butchers didn't multitask. They optimized. Cold pit smoking. Forget shiny smokehouses. Some medieval communities use shallow pits lined with stone or clay. A small fire burned at one end, while meat hung at the other, sometimes partially underground. Temperatures stayed low, often below 30 degrees Celsius. This allowed weeks-long smoking without rendering fat or cooking protein. Cold pit smoking produced meat that could survive entire winters. These days, modern butchers rarely cold smoke for that long, but, medieval ones had no choice, so they mastered it. Rotational smoke hanging. Now, here's one most people never hear about. Meat wasn't left hanging in one position. It was rotated, turned, shifted. This prevented moisture pockets and uneven drying. Some smokehouses even had simple pulley systems to move meat closer or farther from the smoke source, depending on weather. Honestly, this level of control contradicts the idea of medieval food as crude. It was adaptive engineering built from observation, not manuals. Continuous low fire discipline. Medieval smokers avoided flare-ups like death itself. That kind of skill is, mostly gone these days. Fires were fed small amounts of fuel constantly, producing steady smoke without spikes in heat. This required attention, really. Someone had to tend that fire daily, and sometimes even hourly. The payoff, though, was consistency. No case hardening, no cooked surfaces trapping moisture inside. Modern electric smokers automate this, but medieval ones demanded skill. And honestly, that skill is mostly gone. Whole carcass smoking. See, modern butchers break animals down first, but medieval smokers often worked with large sections or even entire carcasses. Surface area control was, absolutely essential. Larger cuts dried slower, which meant there was a reduction in oxidation and rancidity. Smoke penetrated gradually, creating these deeper preservation layers, you see. Historical records actually show that whole sides of pork or beef could last months longer than what we have today. Bigger wasn't wasteful. It was strategic. Seasonal smoke timing now, that was key. Medieval smoking wasn't random at all. It followed the calendar, working in harmony with nature's rhythms. Cold, dry months were preferred because, bacteria struggled to survive in those conditions. Smoking during winter locked meat into a preserved state that summer heat simply couldn't undo. Modern butchers, they smoke year-round and rely on refrigeration to compensate. But medieval smokers worked with the climate instead of fighting it. That synergy, really, it made all the difference. Why did modern butchers forget? It's because speed replaced survival. Refrigeration, you see, made time optional. And, regulations standardized flavor, but unfortunately they also flattened technique. The medieval goal wasn't taste alone. It was durability, nutrition security, life insurance hanging from the ceiling. These methods weren't quaint. They were brutally effective. And here's the kicker. When researchers replicate medieval smoking techniques today, the results often show lower bacterial counts and longer shelf life than modern artisanal methods. The past didn't just work, it still works. That's the real lesson Ancient Roots Uncovered exists to tell. History isn't nostalgia. It's a library of solutions we stopped reading. If this opened your eyes, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who loves food, history, or both. Subscribe to Ancient Roots Uncovered for more lost knowledge that still matters. The past isn't dead. We just stopped listening.